and welcome to another installment of Viably's Voices of Collaboration. As always, I'm Liz Beavers, your host, and today I am joined by Asaf Sternfield, the CEO of Cabilly and Co. Asaf, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and speak with me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to this discussion. There's been so many folks of our team that have had the chance to speak with one another. And I think this is going to be a really stellar segment in which we're getting to dive into all things legal, which I think isn't always something that's top of mind when sellers are kind of getting their start or dipping their toes in the water of Amazon and e commerce.
It's getting interesting while they proceed, obviously.
Yes, exactly. Now, you are currently the CEO of Cabilly and Co., your partner in e-commerce law and intellectual property. Can you share with our listeners a bit more of exactly what Cabilly and Co. does?
Sure, sure. So we are a law firm, and we're specializing in e-commerce. And I mean, we have several departments. We have, our commercial department, our compliance department, our e-com department, which I'll elaborate a little bit later, and our biggest department, our intellectual property. But the thing is that all of these departments are focused on e-com. So unlike other firms, this is the only thing we do. I mean, all our clients are coming from the e-com space. We have a lot of experience. All of us are, living and breathing e-commerce for many years. Some of us have also been sellers on Amazon, D2C sellers. So, we've seen so many cases, we've handled so many cases. So basically, we are e-commerce oriented. That's what the firm does. We're also not your, I'll say, your typical kind of lawyers. So it's not that if a client will come to us, a potential client, and we are okay, let's go, let's fight, let's do this. We always work together with the client because of our experience. We like to work together to see if it's worth his while to do what he wants to do, to see if it's worth his while financially wise, for his business. We strategize together with him. He comes with the case, he presents it to us. We usually, sit down with him, get to know his business, first of all, get to know his business, what he does, what kind of products is he selling, does he have any, IP like copyrights, patents, trademarks, who are his competitors, what's his market share, and what does he want to benefit from the legal action that he wants to take? For instance, if he wants to fight, hijackers. So we want to figure out, is this something worth your while? Are you gonna, sell more if you take this hijacker off? What's the point of doing this? To make sure that it's beneficial to him. And again, because of all our experience, we can help with this. And that what makes the clients feel very confident in us.
Yeah, I would certainly say so. I think your breadth of experience, services, and knowledge is a huge asset to sellers, no matter the situation that they might be facing. And that was another question I wanted to ask you as well, Asaf, is when do you all often find that you are engaging with sellers? Is it when they are early on in their journey and maybe they're trying to go through their brand registry process? Do they come and pop back in periodically if they are trying to fight a sticky situation, maybe account reinstatement? So I'd love to hear again. I know you talked through some of the services, but from a user journey perspective, when there might be some instances in which they should be turning to Cabilly and Co. for their assistance.
Well, basically, we service all sellers or sizes. I mean, someone that wants to, start the business right now. So we can provide him all the, make sure he has all the protection he needs, make sure all these agreements are in place, with the manufacturers or suppliers to make sure he's protected there. Make sure that he's, he has the IP protection. He needs to file it. He has a trademark or needs to file a trademark, patent, utility, design, whatever is needed. Make sure he's compliant. This is very important that the products need to be compliant wherever you're selling, especially on Amazon. labeling, ingredients, claims, whatever he needs. So make sure again that he's compliant and, help him when, to start the journey. So we have a lot of these that are coming in. The small sellers that have, the resellers that have the suspensions issue,
Hmm.
the ones that, have their own brand and want to file brand registry, we help them. And even the big ones, we've handled some of the major aggregators in the Amazon space, helping with the diligence, purchases and sales of Amazon stores. So basically the whole range, we have the expertise because of, all the departments that we have and the sync that they have because they're all familiar with the e-com. We manage to help whatever's needed we can do.
That's amazing. And I think based on, again, kind of that huge gamut of experience and what you're able to provide sellers, that's where I know Viably is feeling so fortunate to have Cabilly and Co. as one of our trusted partners. I don't think that anyone necessarily begins their e-commerce business under the guise of being on one end a financial expert in terms of where Viably can come in, but on the other being a legal expert and having the experience to know when to call for assistance, what they need to be compliant. So I would love to hear your thoughts in terms of what you view Viably and Cabilly and Co.'s partnership and really how they can help sellers together.
Um, First of all, I think both of us are in the business of helping sellers. Okay, you in helping to elevate them, to get more inventory or funds for additional growth, helping the small one get bigger or the big ones get even bigger, and for us to resolve their problems that are stopping them from growing, from holding them back. So basically both of us are trying to help sellers in a sense. For instance, when you provide the funds to purchase additional inventory and then they get suspended, could be very harmful to the business. They can't sell, they get not getting any money. And we can help resolve that issue pretty quickly, with our experience. So it's kind of, there's working together. So both of us are helping them grow, helping them resolve issues and problems. And it's not like we're competing each other. It's like both services, going hand in hand for a business to grow.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we love seeing that alignment. And again, that's where we're so grateful to have you guys a part of our partner program and so excited about this discussion as well. And kind of switching gears a little bit from the partnership side of things, Asaf, you've had loads of experience prior to your tenure at Cabilly and Co. Walk me through what led you here. I know everybody has a very unique way of finding their footing in e-commerce specifically. So I'd love to hear a bit about your background and how you found and began working with Cabilly and Co.
Sure, sure. So I've been with Cabilly and Co for 3 years, for 3 years now. Before that, I was a lawyer. Many years ago, I was doing mostly commercial litigation. And during my MBA studies, I've done tech management and strategy. That's what I studied in university. I came across the e-commerce, one of the classes, and it was very, very intriguing to me. And it was many years ago, which was it was developed, but there was a lot of niches that were still not untouched in the e-commerce space, and I had this idea of helping people with the cross-border shopping, which
Hmm.
back then was really an issue, with shipping companies and with calculation of taxes and who's shipping and who's not. There was a lot of misinformation and a lot of missing information in the space. So I had this idea of established a startup, me and my partner, which was great. It was started back in 2014, so it was
Hmm.
a long time ago. A lot has since then happened in e-commerce. We've done this for about 3 years. We sold it around 2017. I think we sold the company. But I hadn't had enough with that. I'm hooked. I'm hooked. So I was drafted, and then I to a company, to a big FMCG company, fast moving consumer goods, to establish their D2C department, and
Hmm.
that's what I did also for almost 3 years. We started, our own website, got bigger, went to the Amazon journey, which then I really, let's say, I really fell in love with that.
Yeah.
Uh, great success in the US with Amazon. We did additional things for the department. After 3 years, actually before that, I got to know Yael, the founder of Cabilly and Co. She's very known in the Amazon space. I worked with her because we also had issues with Amazon. Obviously, everybody had
At some
issues.
point, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I had a chance and the privilege of working with her. And after a few years in my previous company, she came to me with the offer to join Cabilly and Co. And I thought it was extremely interesting. It's combining, what I initially started doing many years ago and my new passion, and it allowed me the opportunity to help people like me. I was fortunate with my first company. I was fortunate with the offer I got later on. And I wanted to, to help other sellers, so it's kind of combined the legal and the experience with e-commerce. And I'm there since I don't 2020, 21, I think I'm there.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and I love what I do.
That's amazing. And I think based on your experience in the e-commerce landscape as well, having been a seller, having faced these issues, it really further humanizes what folks are going through. Again, I know I've talked to many folks and it really is such a human oriented, it is a people focused space.
Exactly.
And I think having been in those shoes, knowing what they're going through, knowing the challenge and the headache that comes along with it really does help in how you and the team are tackling and solving these problems so that they can continue to grow and scale effectively. So I think that's just fascinating.
Yeah, definitely.
And now with that too, knowing your vast experience, what are some of the most challenging new trends in e-commerce or changes in Amazon where you and the team have found recently that you've been spending a lot of time and really kind of pinpointing some of those areas?
Oh, there's a lot going on in
Yeah.
Amazon. Um, I would think one of the biggest challenges, this in the past year, was everything to do with enforcement, I think. So basically what's going on is Amazon, they want to do more enforcement. They didn't do as much, if you've been looking back at, I don't know, 2016, 17, there wasn't as much enforcement on the platform. And, you know, well, they do want to help. Obviously, they do want to help. On the one hand, they want to help sellers. On the other one, they want to help buyers, and they do want to make sure that all the products are legit and there's no fakes and everybody's nobody's infringing. Um, but what it caused is what we see is a lot of false suspensions going on. This is one thing that we see a lot, and it Amazon, because they got to be, I say, more efficient, or even a
Hmm.
lot more efficient, is because they're using a lot of automation to do their enforcement, to review the listings on the platform, that the accounts, to see if there is anything, wrong, anything that you should be aware of. And there's a lot of triggers to the system, which causes a lot of false suspensions. So that's kind of been challenging because it's happening a lot,
Hmm.
and quick, you can go on, have one day you're selling, everything is good, and that your product is legit and compliant. And then the next day you open your computer and then you see that you've been suspended and you don't know why. We've been working really hard on the false suspension, trying to detect what is causing it and
Sure.
how to resolve it. We figure out, let's say, for example, we know the keywords that will, trigger the system to cause a suspension. We know how to address Amazon to show them that this suspicion is false and we should be reinstated. So we eventually figured out, but it was a long phase of a lot of suspension that happened, which you don't know why, because you're sure you're compliant, you're sure that everything is, we were playing by the book, but things happen. So this is one
Hmm.
thing that we saw a lot. And the same thing with enforcement. What we see a lot is kind of waves of particular suspensions.
Hmm.
What I mean by that is, let's say about, I don't know, about a year ago, maybe a little bit less, you saw a lot of suspensions that um, account verification, for instance. This was a big deal. Everybody
Yeah.
had to do account verification. That's one thing that we saw. A few months later, we saw a lot of linked accounts suspensions. Also happened a lot. Now we're seeing a lot of Section 3s that are happening, mainly copyright infringement or counterfeit goods. So this also was very, very challenging, again, because it was happening to a lot of sellers, like
Yeah.
all at the same time. So here, what we did actually, how we coped with this challenge is we try to figure out what is causing Amazon to do this. Okay, what's behind? What are they thinking
Hmm.
behind doing all these suspensions right now, or reviewing all the accounts or the listings? So what's behind that? And once we figure it out, why are they doing that? It was easier for us to resolve. So the for instance the verification. So they wanted to make sure that all sellers are legit. Okay, that's a legitimate business.
Right.
uh, Amazon knows who they're dealing with. It was very, very important. Let's say linked accounts. It was very important for them to know nothing fraudulent is happening. Okay. Now they're doing Section 3 to make sure all products are, compliant and there's no, counterfeit goods. So once we figure out why they're doing what they're doing, it was easier for us to handle the challenge. And today we managed to resolve most of the issues. In my opinion, these waves are continuing. It's going
Hmm.
to happen every few months. They will, attack a different thing, a different aspect, and
Yeah.
we'll again. But I'm sure that now we are very, very much prepared for the next waves.
Yeah, and with that, and that's such an interesting concept and way to dive into that kind of train of thinking too. What would you advise sellers to do to be equipped and prepared for some of these waves that are coming? And again, how can they kind of lean into you all and your expertise to make sure that they're either prepared in advance of some of these waves and again, some of these like escalation points that they need to be aware of? So, yeah, what should sellers do to be prepared and to stay ahead or on top of things?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, this is part of the, like I mentioned before, this is when a new seller is coming to us and we're checking his business. So it's pretty much the same thing. I mean, you want to make sure that you have whatever is needed. So if we're talking about, agreements is not relevant to this point, but let's say you have to make sure that you have your trademark filed, and you have your brand registry to make sure that it's that you have it. If you have a patent, you have to make sure that you have your patent. You want to make sure that your suppliers are good, that you can prove your supply chain, which is also very important. You have to go all the way to the supplier to make sure that the products that you're purchasing from him are not counterfeit, not stolen, that you know, is legitimate, is a legitimate
Hmm.
business. When you're doing, let's say, applicable or consumable products, you have to make sure that you are unit compliant, that your label is stating whatever's need to be stated. State by state, you have to be compliant. This is also very important. Claims, people things that they can claim whatever they want, on the listing, on the product, or on the bottle, which is not true. It has to be, compliant with Amazon rules. In this case, also with you have to with the FDA as well. You have to make
Right.
sure that you're compliant. So I would say that first of all, you have to make sure that you're doing good. Okay, even if it's better that you don't know that you're doing something wrong. Okay, so again, if you don't know that you're doing something wrong, we'll be able to help you. But if you do know you're doing something wrong, it will be more difficult. So make
Right.
sure, again, make sure you what you know, make sure that is okay and good, and that your products are good, and everything is okay. And if you don't know something, it's good to consult. But if you didn't, honestly, we will be able to help you. That's the best thing I can do. And again, like I mentioned before, a lot of the suspension that are happening in these waves are not even their fault. Okay, so again, false
Hmm.
suspensions, waves. Just want to making sure again that you are legit, even though when you open the account, you had all the paperwork and documents. It's on one hand, it's good that they're checking. It's making it a bit difficult on the sellers, but it's very good for the buyer. So you have
Yeah.
to take it into consideration.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think that's very helpful for sellers to, again, have in the back of their minds to constantly remain on top of those things and ensure compliance ahead rather than having to play catch up if they aren't. Now, one of
Yeah.
the last things I'd love to spend a little time chatting with you about before we end our time together is what do you find to be inspiring and what really continues motivating you in this e-commerce ecosystem based on the conversations that you're having with sellers?
Well, as you asked me before, how did I get to the e-com business, and then basically why I'm still here. So, the opportunities are endless, and especially for young people. I meet a lot of, young entrepreneur in the e-commerce space, doing phenomenal sales, phenomenal numbers. And it's so good to see that, they are very creative, they're finding niches, they're, inventing products. You see how their mind works, and for me to help them, with my experience, to grow this, and even to make, get a bigger market share, create more revenue, going on to your next platform or your next, adventure. It's always this is really what makes me, very happy to see, and very I'm inspired by them as well. By the way, it's
Yeah.
when I started, meeting a 22 or 25-year-old making, I don't know, say $80 million in revenue a
It's
year.
wild.
It's unheard of. So
Yeah.
seeing that is just it blows my mind every time. And again, to see the innovation that they have, and the patience, to grow the business, and evolve. And like I said, most of them today, you see a lot of, diversifying. So they've done Amazon, they're going on Walmart and
Hmm.
Shopify. Then they're doing social media is becoming, sales on social media is becoming really big right now. So this is great to see. This is what inspires me a lot, and puts a smile on your face to meet this young guy coming. Listen, I'm doing 80 million sale, got suspended. I'm sure I'm okay. Can you please help me? I'll be more than happy to help you. I'm more than happy to see you grow your business. I'd be more than happy to say that you're my client. So yeah, that's a great thing about what I do, about what Cabilly does.
Yeah, I think that that is, to put it the same, it's very inspiring, and I think that that's what's such a huge motivator in this space, especially is yes, there is innately competition, but I think amongst everyone there is such a hunger to succeed and to learn and to do better and improvise on what we've seen done in the past. So I think that's a huge testament to the community and again what you guys are able to contribute to the seller's journey and success as well. So very, very cool stuff.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Well, with that, Asaf, I know that our time has come to an end. We could have talked for far longer. We'll have to do a part two and maybe all the 101 behind legal jargon that people might not have been accustomed to. That would be a fun deep dive there. But really appreciate your time and thank you so much for sitting down and chatting with us.
Sure. Thank you so much. It was great. It was great talking to you.
Yeah. And those who are listening, if you have questions or are interested in learning more about what Cabilly and Co. has to offer and how they might be able to help you continue to grow, we will have links included below about their services. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. Take care.